The staircase had already been destroyed once. Shells had torn through the building days earlier, collapsing parts of the ceiling and stripping the walls of plaster. What remained was narrow, concrete steps, chipped and uneven, leading upward into darkness. No light reached the middle of the stairwell. Only dust. Somewhere within the structure. Vasily Zaitsev waited. He had chosen the staircase carefully, not because it offered a clear view, but because it offered stillness. From this position, he could observe without being seen. Movement outside the building passed through small breaks in the wall. Brief. Fragmented. Zaitsev did not sit comfortably. There was no place to lean. He positioned himself between steps, his body pressed close to the concrete. The rifle rested across his knees. Unmoved. Above him, the building creaked. Below, rubble blocked the lower floor. The staircase had become isolated, cut off from the rest of the structure. This was not a sniper's nest meant for quick engagement. It was a place to remain. Time behaved differently here. The Battle of Stalingrad raged outside the building. Explosions echoed through streets. Gunfire rattled endlessly. Inside the stairwell, sound arrived muted, distant, unreliable. Zaitsev did not mark the hours. He had no reason to. He waited for movement, not for opportunity. 3 days passed this way. Not 3 days of constant action, but 3 days of remaining in the same position. No change of stance. No relief. Water was rationed carefully. Food barely touched. The body adjusted slowly. Muscles stiffened. Circulation slowed. Sleep came in fragments. Never fully. The staircase did not offer protection. Only concealment. If discovered, there would be no retreat. No alternate path. Zaitsev accepted this. The staircase did not move. Neither did he. Above the staircase, the city continued to collapse. Walls that had stood the day before were gone the next. Shells landed without pattern. Some struck buildings directly. Others shook structures already weakened. Stalingrad no longer functioned as a city. It had become layers. Above ground, movement was dangerous. Snipers watched broken streets and intersections. Below ground, cellars filled with rubble, water, and bodies. Passageways closed without warning. The staircase existed between these layers. Not fully above. Not fully below. From where Zaitsev waited, he could hear both. Footsteps echoed faintly through upper floors. Sometimes German voices carried briefly, cut short by distance. Below him, nothing moved. The stairwell amplified certain sounds. A loose stone falling somewhere above could travel downward unnaturally loud. Zaitsev learned to distinguish echoes from intention. He did not look constantly. Looking too often created movement. Instead, he listened. The city communicated through vibration, through subtle shifts in pressure. A shell landing nearby changed the air. Dust fell differently. At times, the building shook hard enough that Zaitsev pressed himself tighter to the concrete. If the staircase collapsed, there would be no warning. Outside, the battle had no clear front line. Fighting moved vertically. Men fought for rooms, then staircases, then floors. The space Zaitsev occupied was not claimed by either side. It existed temporarily, like many places in Stalingrad. Whoever moved first here would likely not move again. Zaitsev waited for that movement. He did not expect speed. He expected hesitation. The city above him was restless. The city below him was silent. The staircase remained still. The first day passed without incident. No shots were fired. No movement appeared in the gaps between walls. Zaitsev remained in position. His body adjusted slowly to the posture forced upon it. One leg bent awkwardly against the step. The other pressed flat against broken concrete. There was no room to shift weight. Any adjustment risked sound. He controlled his breathing carefully. Slow. Measured. The staircase smelled of dust and old smoke. Every breath carried particles that clung to the throat. Water was rationed in small sips. Not because supply was scarce, but because movement was costly. The second day arrived without a clear boundary. Light filtered briefly through cracks in the structure, then disappeared again. Time became difficult to judge. Zaitsev slept only in fragments. Moments of unconsciousness broken by sound. A distant explosion. A sudden echo in the stairwell. Each noise forced alertness back into his body. Muscles tightened and released repeatedly. Fatigue accumulated quietly. By the third day, discomfort no longer demanded attention. It had become constant. Cold settled into the concrete. It crept upward through his clothing. The rifle remained steady, unmoved. Zaitsev did not think in terms of endurance. There was no benefit in framing the weight that way. He focused on small details instead. Dust falling from above. The way sound changed when someone moved in the building. He learned the rhythm of the staircase. What belonged to the structure? What did not? Most of the time, nothing happened. And that was the point. In Stalingrad, movement often meant death. Remaining still could mean survival. Zaitsev waited not for certainty, but for error. Someone would eventually believe the space was empty. Someone would move carelessly. The staircase demanded patience. And patience, in this place, was a weapon. The sound was almost missed. Not footsteps. Not voices. Just a shift. Something changed in the air above the staircase. A subtle difference in pressure. Zaitsev noticed it immediately. The building had its own language by now. Creaks. Settling dust. Distant impacts. This sound did not belong to any of those. It came from above. Careful. Measured. Someone was using the staircase. The movement was slow, deliberate. Not rushed. Zaitsev did not raise his rifle yet. There was no clear target. He adjusted his breathing instead. Reduced it further. The sound paused. Then resumed. A boot brushed against concrete. Very lightly. Whoever was moving believed the space was empty. They did not expect resistance from below. The staircase offered no cover. Only concealment. Zaitsev waited. The figure above him moved closer. Step by step. The angle was narrow. The light uneven. Zaitsev could see part of a leg now. Then the outline of a knee. Still no face. No weapon clearly visible. He did not rush. 3 days had not been spent to act too soon. The movement slowed again. Hesitation. Perhaps the other man sensed something. Perhaps not. In that pause, the staircase felt smaller. The distance between them closed. Zaitsev brought the rifle up smoothly. No wasted motion. The waiting ended. The rifle came up smoothly. There was no sudden movement. No correction at the last second. Zaitsev had already measured the distance. The angle. The space available. The staircase compressed everything. Sound would not travel far. There would be no echo worth noticing. He waited until the figure stepped fully into view. For a brief moment, both men occupied the same narrow space. One above. One below. Neither spoke. Zaitsev fired once. The sound was sharp but contained. It did not carry far into the building. The body fell backward, out of sight. There was no second shot. Zaitsev remained in position. He did not move immediately. There was no reason to. The staircase returned to stillness. Dust drifted slowly through the air. Particles caught the light, then disappeared. No voices followed. No return fire. The building absorbed the sound and released nothing in response. Zaitsev waited. Minutes passed. Nothing changed. The staircase was empty again. The 3 days ended there. Zaitsev did not leave immediately. The staircase remained quiet, but silence alone was not confirmation. He waited longer than necessary. Not out of caution, but habit. Movement after a shot often attracted attention. In Stalingrad, sound lingered. Only when nothing followed did he begin to shift. His body resisted at first. Muscles that had remained still for days did not respond quickly. He moved slowly, testing each motion. The staircase felt different now. Larger, less confined. The position had served its purpose. It no longer offered advantage. Zaitsev gathered what he needed. Nothing more. He did not look back up the steps. There was nothing to see. The body above remained out of sight. Unacknowledged. Zaitsev moved downward carefully, avoiding loose debris. Below, the rubble shifted under his weight, but did not collapse. He passed through the lower level and into another part of the ruined building. The staircase was left behind. Outside, the battle continued unchanged. Other shots echoed through the city. This action did not pause the fighting. It did not draw attention. It ended quietly. Zaitsev merged back into the movement of the city. Another position awaited. Another wait. The staircase returned to being what it had been before. A damaged structure in a ruined building. It did not mark what had happened there. It did not retain memory. For 3 days, it had held stillness. Then it released it. The staircase remained where it was. No one marked it. No one returned to it with purpose. The building continued to take damage. Walls shifted. Floors collapsed. Eventually, the staircase disappeared beneath rubble. There was no record of the moment that occurred there. No map referenced it. No report described it in detail. It existed only briefly, as a place where someone waited. 3 days did not alter the course of the battle. They did not change the fate of the city. They ended one life. And then they ended. The Battle of Stalingrad continued above and below. Other staircases became positions. Other rooms closed in around other men. What happened here did not stand apart. It blended into the larger movement of the war. Later, the name Vasily Zaitsev would become known, counted, discussed. But the staircase was not part of that discussion. It did not carry meaning beyond its moment. It was a narrow space. Damaged. Temporary. For 3 days, it held stillness. Then it let it go. The war moved on. The city fell silent. What remained was not a story, but the absence of one. A place where time slowed briefly, then resumed. And nothing more.